The Media Project. The Vermont Technology Alliance. The VTTA is the only statewide organization focused on Vermont's tech business sector and entrepreneurs. Our business members are Fortune 500 companies, startup founders, small business owners, and soloists. We provide advocacy, recruiting of tech talent, events, and other networking opportunities. We are the heart of the tech ecosystem in Vermont. Become a member now at vtta.org. The Vermont Technology Alliance. Tech thrives here.
Erica von Kleist is a performing artist, educator, businesswoman, colorful commentator on any number of the more ridiculous intersections between art and modern life. And wouldn't you know, she plays the saxophone to top it all off. And we have to acknowledge, just had a premiere of 3 new arrangements at no less than Carnegie Hall. I've admired her work for many years now and thought about asking her for an interview for the Are We Here Yet podcast. It was the commentary of many of our peers in and out of music to a social media post by a third party some months ago that finally brought us here. It seems that within music education circles, art is certainly imitating life, with one comment by a youngish undergrad regarding the behavior of collegiate faculty in music departments, that we got a whole lot of, either boomer or, oh, these kids these days type of repartee. So we wanted to sit down and figure out, what gives when we're all just trying to get along? Wouldn't we be more useful to each other by crossing the threshold of generational divides and other types of artificial divides we place on each other? And I thought that was what jazz was all about anyways. Well, we're hoping Erica can set us straight this evening. Erica, it's so great to have you here.
Thank you, Scott. Glad to be here. And there's so much to unpack here.
There's all kinds of
great topic.
It's a great topic. And we were just talking a moment ago before we started recording this idea that ultimately this is about a broader issue of getting rid of we seem to have more so now than most other times before this natural inclination of division. We're speaking at each other and not with each other. Right? Do you feel the same thing?
I mean, yes. And also I think the divide generationally was made even more stark by the pandemic, because I teach college students, and the students that I teach are the product of the abrupt change in learning and the abrupt change in development that affected them for better or for worse. Right. And now we're seeing this sort of different, mentality, this different culture of learning and just being and existing that is now sort of bubbling to the surface, that I think it's hard for people of different generations to reconcile with in a way.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't sound like there's one group that needs to be more empathic to the other, right? If I have a well-established routine that has served me well as a well-established music educator at the collegiate level, right? And I'm trying to navigate this is an abrupt change, right? That happened due to the global health crisis. And it was abrupt for both parties, right? For students as well as well-established faculty, right? So it's just hard to figure out what is the best way.
Right. And also being a little objective and being open to change, because I think one of the things that sort of, the boomer generation, and I'll include myself in this sort of older generation. I'm a millennial, but the not on the younger side type generation. we are set in our ways. We're used to seeing the world a certain way. We're used to interacting with the world a certain way. And when we see younger people doing it differently, it and sort of breaking with the traditions and breaking the norms that we are just dogmatically like supposed to adhere to, that makes us uncomfortable. It makes us question our own roots and our own realities. And I think that rub is kind of where the problem lies. And I think that's where the difficulty in discourse is. And I think that's where, I mean, just to use for analogously, the political climate is like that. I mean, people are used to their dogma. And when you question that dogma, it's like,
it's as if you're questioning their existence.
Exactly.
Like, no, I thought this was a conversation.
It's like it's undermining their identity in a way. And I feel like, I know that's a little heady, that's a little deep, but it's still kind of the same thing. So I teach music business at Manhattan School of Music, and one of the class topics that I brought up with my students is the concept of executive functioning. And I brought it up in the context of telling them, hey, you guys, you youngins, we're talking about you. Like, our generation is talking about you a lot, and you should know what we're saying about you.
Yeah.
Like, if you're talking about someone, they should know what's being discussed behind their backs. And it's not like anything's nefarious or, bad. It's just that we're just very much analyzing their behavior and not knowing what to do with it. So I had this really wonderful discussion with my students about executive functioning, like what it is and what it means to, function on a higher level with business acumen, with just functionality in the world, and especially in the world of music business. And it was a really fruitful discussion, and I actually learned a lot about them as much as they learned about that concept as well.
Give us some direct examples first of some of the things, the behaviors, activities, however we want to characterize them, that are disarming, right, for people of, I'm a Gen Xer. So, and for years before getting in the business I'm in now, I was a music educator and a performing artist. So I sense we probably studied with people of the similar prior generations, right? And sort of have a similar mindset. So what are some of the things that have been particularly disarming? And then what are the things that current undergrads are saying about us? And maybe even throwing a mirror up to us.
Yeah. Well, I guess just to sort of define executive functioning first off,
Sure.
I mean, that sort of describes your basic business acumen. And in the context of sort of a young person who is embarking on a career in music, it's, can they show up on time? How is their preparation for a rehearsal or for a gig? Are they going to have all of the paperwork together? How quickly are they going to respond to emails when they play a club and the publicist says, where's your bio and your headshot? I need it, so that they can print out all the promo materials. Like, executive functioning just means checking off all of the boxes. And what I have found as someone who is literally teaching these subjects to the students is that there's these holes in their learning. There's this, and it's not necessarily like they don't know how to read or write. It's just that, like, it's a disconnect for like showing up on time is what they lose points in my class if they're late. Not a ton of points, but nonetheless, handing in assignments on time. A lot of times in this industry, as you know, having worked in the music industry, 80% of the gig is just showing up and being prepared and looking good.
I mean, I'm going to just tell you right now, I was an okay player. I'm not I was not a phenom, right? But if you show up early, if you don't leave until everything's, like, hey, are we good? Yeah, you need any help? You're not on drugs and alcohol or anything like that. You're reliable, right? 100%. Like, you there's lots of regular work for you,
Yeah.
That and competency. If you're striving for competency, you have to have a minimal level of competency. Don't get me wrong, but like, you don't have to be a superstar per se. You just have to be, as you're saying, executive function has to be high.
Well, and the reason I drill it home with these students is that I'm dealing with students at Manhattan School of Music. These technically, artistically, like technically on their instruments, they are in the top 5% of musical technicians in the world already.
Yeah,
And they're
100%. Yeah.
18 to 25 years old or whatever. Like, if they learned how to just take what they know, they don't even have to get better on their instruments and they can have a fruitful career. But it's all the other stuff that is going to make or break whether or not they can pay their rent. And that's the executive functioning that I was discussing with them. And I think it helped them understand the importance of like what Jeff Keezer's post was about like showing up on time and not being late and attendance and all of that. Yes, the heavy-handed kind of old school approach to conveying that is not necessarily going to be well received. And I think that therein lied one of the rubs from his post, which I had commented on, but I think at least there was a moment of breakthrough with my students. And, these students were in the pandemic, just, executive functioning equaled rolling out of bed, throwing on a t-shirt and turning on Zoom and being on school. That's going to school.
I wasn't expecting that to be your example, but it's got me thinking in the last, 2 or 3 minutes, like what happens because we're all doing it, right? What happens when, and it's during your formative years.
Exactly.
That you don't necessarily, just what you just said, like showing up to school is rolling out of bed and turning on Zoom.
Right.
Or less than that, And the city I lived in at the time, 18% of the population, we came to know, because nobody cared before the pandemic, didn't have home internet access.
Mm-hmm.
A city 50 miles west of Boston, right? Recently deindustrialized. And all of a sudden you had in the middle of January, people with laptops that the school gave them for free, but they were all like dozens of people were hanging out in the front of a closed library, hoping there'd be internet access close enough if they could get close enough to the building in the freezing cold so that they could have school. Like all kinds of shit happened to all kinds of people. You know what I mean? Where like, for 2 or 3 years, you didn't have to, there was no executive function.
There wasn't. And that's not my way of being like, oh, look at how lazy these kids were. Oh, they were just rolling out of bed. No, this was what it was. Like, this isn't their fault. And because, like you said, these are the formative years. The years like age like 15 to 18, I was getting my ass handed to me by my high school band director. Like, not, nobody's late for concert jazz band rehearsal that starts at 7:30 a.m.
That's right.
Downbeat at 7:30 a.m. with all of your doubles set up ready to go because we have a rehearsal. When you miss the years of that kind of like, I guess pressure or expectation, and I'm not trying to use those words negatively, but I just for lack of better synonyms at the moment, it lights a fire under your butt, and it builds that character, and it builds that sense of executive functioning that a lot of these young people have missed, and that wasn't their fault. But now in the college world, we're like, okay, now you're adults and you're not showing up for class. What's wrong with you? It's like, hello, there was a major disconnect here in development. And I think we're really seeing that these days. And that's where this is coming in, this sort of knocking of heads.
Is the rub made worse because it's coming, everything that you've mentioned is coming at the same time that we're not, this is a general societal problem. We're not communicating in ways that in prior generations we were. I think it's never been perfect, but we were doing much more of. And I mean that specifically. So I happen to, also be a technologist. I have nothing against technology. We have been ill prepared to use new technologies, including social media, as a communications tool and get it right. Eventually we will, right? But we learn slower than the machines, apparently. Right. And I mean, specifically, we're more apt to talk at each other and not with each other. We're not listening to each other. Right. And the each other could be any number of different groups, separated by age or socioeconomics or however you want to put it. Right. But there's the initial issue that you speak of. And then I almost feel like there's this secondary issue of then on top of it, we're not communicating with each other as good as we could and empathic as we could. And so we're not getting anywhere often because of that.
I mean, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and state an opinion that might piss some people off. I'm sorry, I shouldn't swear and use words like that, but
Oh,
anyway.
you can do that. I mean, I wouldn't do it like all your words, but I'm not gonna edit you, Erica von Kleist.
Okay. So I'm not looking to piss anybody off or generalize too much, but in my field, I have not known jazz musicians to be the best communicators of words.
I'm just laughing because, yeah.
I just haven't know. I mean, I feel like we understand how to communicate through our instruments. But I just feel like verbal communication is just, I don't know. I guess I'm making a big generalization here, but I just feel like that is not a strong point in my field. I'm not talking about anyone in particular, and I'm not talking about everybody, but I know that so many of my colleagues are in academia, in the teaching classes where it's like, okay, learn your theory, learn your compositional voicings, learn this and this and this, boom, 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 boom. And when something like this arises, that's more interpersonal and that's more sort of emotional, I don't think it is a strong point for a lot of people in my field to handle these types of situations, which I think that is what contributes to what you're saying. We're talking at each other, like, you should do this, you're not carrying on the tradition, you're not playing in the style of this, you're late to class. It's like this sort of taskmaster kind of mentality in our field is kind of what
which was never good back in the day.
It was never good.
But it's exacerbated by the fact that we all I feel like no one gave each other a break for 2 or 3 years of living through sorry to overemphasize it, but a global pandemic. But remember, for years, right, the country, we've been living through this long-term cataclysmic shift in demographics, right, in politics, in the economy, right, increasing inequality and all that. And so, we've got to give each other a break.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Culturally, in the study of this music, there are no breaks given.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, like, I do. Yeah.
You miss that chord change, it's gonna get pointed out. You play a bad solo, you got your tail between your legs off the bandstand. Like, there is such a heightened sense of like, you can't F up in this music.
I want to ask you your opinion. This is at the core of why we're
going into early childhood trauma territory.
Oh yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And this is why I wanted to have you on, because I feel because the world can learn from the jazz culture, which I do believe, by the way. I'm not just messing around with that, but this is not original jazz culture. In other words, when this was still very much a street music, right? And it was the pop music of its day, wherever it was, right? It was a recorded music, but it was also just the music that was being played in around, neighborhoods and bars and taverns or whatever. Right? It wasn't like this. This is what happened as this great American artistic phenomenon, matured and split into many different styles. But then it also went into academia. It also became something you could get a degree in, right? Mm-hmm. It became something you could study formally and what have you.
I mean, I can't speak to what the vibe was before I came into this, so I don't know historically what, if this mentality was prevalent earlier, or if there was a shift when academia became such a part of the jazz upbringing. But I do know that I and many of my colleagues were on the receiving end of this taskmaster, don't F up mentality from teachers. And there is a time and place for the velvet hammer, or maybe not so velvet hammer sometimes, but like, also that sense of empathy, and that sense of, I guess, sometimes gentle parenting is like actually needed. I don't think the pendulum needs to swing way in the other direction, but that ability to just listen and to let people be human and to let people make mistakes and let people explore. I think that's where that disconnect comes from, where that communication lies, where it's just like it's their way or the highway. You show up to the gig. If you screw up,
yeah, it's like a perpetual gig with Benny Goodman, for crying out loud.
Is that what it was like to be with Benny Goodman?
I was not personally with Benny Goodman, but I've had many people tell me that he was a taskmaster as a band leader. But I don't know if it had to do specifically with the music or if it was just more like everything that we just spoke about, like, how come you're not here on time? The gig started 10 minutes ago. What the hell are you doing? Because, I mean, if you're paying a guy to show up or, a guy or a gal to show up, you expect them to show up when you're a name band,
Yes, totally. And I mean, and to Benny Goodman's defense, I mean, he's right. You're going to hire someone, they got to show up. I mean, if you're going to be a surgeon, you're not going to be late to surgery.
No, that's right.
That's not cool. So, I mean, yes. So there's an element of like, hey, we need to talk about executive functioning, but we also need to learn how to talk. Period.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the solutions are gonna start to come from. And actually, that's when the real stuff's gonna bubble to the surface. Honestly, is when people learn to talk about their stuff.
Breaking Housing Matters is a national housing initiative building housing profitably. It is a first-of-its-kind initiative currently being piloted in Rutland City, Vermont, USA. BHM brings multiple key stakeholders from the housing development ecosystem together to solve the dual issues of affordability and profitability. Participate in an all-ships-rise approach designed by a multiplicity of internationally recognized experts in development, economics, housing, and governance. Donate, start a petition for your community, or learn more at breakinghousingmatters.org. Press and program inquiries, please contact our Vermont Director, Scott Graves, at scott@breakinghousingmatters.org.
So speaking of which, you have taken, we'll broaden the conversation here a little bit. You've taken a number of different, what are some, can be, heady or, just difficult topics to talk about. And not only through your artistry as a musician, but you've also taken the form of comedy to broach these difficult subjects. Describe for our listeners a little bit about what I'm referring to.
So I'll tell you the very short story of how this came to be. In 2018 was the Me Too movement. And I was living in Montana at the time, and I had kind of disconnected myself for a few years from the jazz scene, which was much needed for me at that time. And upon the Me Too movement, all of these women's stories were bubbling to the surface, and including in my field and in all of these other fields too. And I realized that I had suppressed a lot of things that had happened to me as a woman, and as the only woman on the road and the only woman on the bandstand, and just the woman who was representing this art form in various capacities in my 20s. And I started getting really angry at some of the things that I had dealt with. And I thought either I was going to go on Facebook and like go on a rant and look like a crazy person and burn a bunch of bridges, or I was like, well, why don't I try writing some music first? And instrumental jazz wasn't going to cut it. Like, it was not going to cut it. So I was like, I need to write with actual words. And I started just thinking about, I had a laundry list of topics I could write about. And I ended up starting to write a bunch of songs about women's issues. Very long story short, it became a one-woman musical comedy show that I do now. That's called Boobs, because there's a song in the show that's called Boobs. It's about two guys talking about my boobs behind my back. And that's what I experienced when I was on the road in a band at one time, that's what the song is about. And it just snowballed to being this passion of mine to write comedic songs about hot button topics. I have songs about menstruation, the song is called You're Becoming a Woman, but Let's Not Talk About It. I have a song about breastfeeding called Another Day, Another Nipple. I actually had breast reduction surgery 2 years ago, and I wrote a song about it, and there's actually a music video on my YouTube channel you can watch.
I've watched that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and
good stuff.
Bloody bandages and everything. Like it's literally ripping the proverbial Band-Aid off the conversation in such a way that is consumable and also is thought-provoking. And since then, I've been trying to book my show in various places, and I've been having some success, but I'm also getting on social media and writing small 1-minute long songs that I turn into music videos about various topics that you can see on my Instagram, Feisty Kleisty.
We'll have access to all these things, by the way, from the episode page.
Oh, wonderful. Send me the links.
Yes.
But anyway, so hopefully to answer your question, that's just sort of like a history of how this came about. And I've coined the term jazz comedy because I'm drawing upon some of my roots as a jazz musician, but also just like doing comedy, funny songs. And I'm just, I don't know, we're going to see where it goes. I'm just having a great time doing it. And I think it's bringing up a lot of topics that people are afraid to talk about. So.
Yeah. I mean, like it, and through the medium of comedy, you can sort of broach these, I won't say difficult topics, because none of this should be difficult to talk about. I mean, I know it's hard to believe, listeners, but within the idiom of jazz for some time, there may be have been, a bit of misogyny going on, historically speaking, maybe even currently in the music business in general. It's not just the hair metal band era days. It's it can be a caustic industry, can it not be? But to talk about it through the medium of comedy gets everybody having to talk about it.
Well, also, that's why I like getting on stage and singing about this stuff, is because who the heck is going to interrupt me while I'm in the middle of a song?
That's true. That
if it were a debate stage, like it'd be like somebody would be interrupting me, heckling me, or whatever. No, it's like I'm performing a concert and singing all of these things. So
excuse me, this is my freaking show. Okay.
Exactly.
Let me get through the tunes, and then you can come by the dressing room later on and tell me that you think it sucks.
Right. Or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No. So it's like this unabashed platform for me to just unload on these various topics in a like I was saying earlier, a slightly, just barely not offensive way.
Yeah. Well, you have a fan in my youngest in particular likes you. I am the proud father of 2 daughters. I live in a house I'm the only guy.
Okay, cool.
And it's wonderful actually. And you set an example which is quite appropriate in our house, where we want the girls to be bright and empathic, and at the same time not hold back on things that they need to talk about, and to understand, and to be constantly trying to understand things, right? Like the mantra that keeping information from people, especially young people, turns them into victims of something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, and that they should be kind of loud and proud,
Yeah, absolutely.
whatever the hell it is that they want to do or be,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there are ways to articulate yourself that are that open up the door for conversation, but also don't hide anything. And I think that's kind of where we need to be now if we're going to enact change, whether it is with issues regarding misogyny or communication in the jazz world. And I really appreciate your daughters being fans. That's really cool. I love hearing that. I really, really love hearing that.
Well, I mean, and let me ask you the state of jazz right now, what your opinion is. I mean, to me, it seems like there's a lot more ascendancy of particularly women instrumentalists across all instruments. But is that really the case, or is everybody still trying to struggle to have a career as compared to their male counterparts? So where are we at as far as that goes?
I don't know. I can only judge by what I see
No.
and what comes across my feed. Um, you know, I will say this, believe it or not, there can be more than one woman on an adjudication panel. Just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Like if you hire one, it's like you don't have to close the door because it's like, oh, sorry, ladies, we already got one.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, it makes it look less like it's a token person that you're trying to get. It makes you look better. You misogynists, right? If you had more than one there.
right. But the tokenism is it is still very prevalent. So I will tell a little story here that
Yeah.
I will use as much anonymity as possible because I'm not looking to, whatever. But anyway, so there was this thing that I was doing some adjudication for, and I had done this like a few times in the past, and I had sort of traditionally been like the one person who was female on the panel to do this. Well, this particular year, they hired all women to be on the panel, and thinking, okay, we've got to get, more women here represented, which is really cool. It's great. One of the women had to bow out at the last minute, and so they hired a guy to come in who was wonderful. Anyway, we did this adjudication thing, and the outcome of this adjudication thing, which was generally like a regional thing, it resulted in some of the same bands being chosen from, the region that had been chosen in previous years. And at the end of the panel, the person who was helping sort of run the thing was saying, well, we really wanted this to be an all-woman panel. And we're like, oh, that's okay. We appreciate the effort and all of that. It's all good. And this person was saying, yes, there's somebody here in the higher up of this organization that wanted all women on the panel because they believed that our feminine sensibilities would lead to different bands being chosen for this regional thing that we were choosing things for.
Wow. Great.
And I thought, I'm so sorry. Let me just brush all this glitter that just fell out of my ears. That's all over your table. Sorry.
I'm laughing, but it's not funny. It's
I'm like,
what the hell else do you do? You know what I mean? Like we're dealing with
And to this day, I don't really know. I don't know who it was in that organization that was the sort of catalyst for the all woman thing because of our feminine ears and our whatever. But it's just like, it's that mentality is still very much prevalent. Like women interact with this music differently because we have different eardrums, apparently. That's why we need the hot pink earplugs from Walgreens instead of the orange ones. And they cost 25 cents more.
Oh my. Anyway. Yeah. Now, I mean, it's because this being one of this country's, if not really, I'm talking to a fellow musician, right? It's our country's greatest contribution and most complex and most complicated contribution has been this music that's called jazz, right? There's a million and one different stories that have been told through this medium. I feel like it could be used as a very powerful tool to some extent to get people back, being a lot more compassionate with each other, back having difficult conversations, but having them, right? And yet, even within the medium, even within the industry that is surrounding it, right? We got a long way to go. So I don't know. I don't even know if you have thoughts and ideas. What I'm saying is really vague. Hopefully it's making some amount of sense to you, but like I feel like, but boy, this could be used. This could get us back to speaking to each other better, but most kids don't have access to it, even to listen to it, let alone to actually make music, right? It's like, and then it just within the industry, we just got so far to go,
We do, but the thing is, like, I'm not all doom and gloom, and I'm not all like burn it down. I feel like that there are direction. There is a current going in a really good direction here. It's not going to be perfect at this moment in time, and it's honestly never going to be perfect. But I feel like that there are great intentions to have more inclusion in this art form, and I think that that's and I don't want to take anything away from many colleagues of mine who have these wonderful intentions and who are actually doing actionable things to create more equity in the art form. So it is happening. Where it needs to happen more and it needs to happen quicker is in academia.
Yeah.
Like, hands down, the number of women instrumentalists on faculty at jazz institutions, jazz programs around the country, and colleges and universities is absolutely beyond awe-inspiring, deplorable.
Yeah.
It's so low. It's so low. And this goes, going back to academia, if our kids are going to feel like they're coming into a safe space where they can talk to people about things and feel like they can be seen and recognized, especially kids coming out of the pandemic who are all still trying to figure out themselves, we need to make sure that we have representation on these faculty lineups so that everybody is represented and has somebody to turn to.
If this music is a dialogue, right, and all of us are supposed to contribute to that conversation, how is it, that you got to have some better representation of everybody that has the opportunity to be a part of that conversation?
Exactly. And the art form itself is a dialogue, and we know how to speak through our instruments, but I feel like we need to get better with speaking with our words and get off the bandstand and just into each other's ears in that respect. And I think more strides will be, taken in the right direction when that happens.
And don't we also need to get back to, and I don't know if it's funding exclusively, but I feel like we've gone backwards in total accessibility. I'm talking about the general public now, and I'm talking about before college, and I'm talking about not just our elite musicians, right, that end up graduating high school and being able to go to top universities. I'm talking about the average person having access to this music, and more kids being involved just in making music, even if it's not jazz, We've gone backwards in this country, even though we are a wealthier nation than we were 50 years ago. Our public schools, by and large, aren't. And we've also, though, I feel like it's more than just the money. It's a mindset, right? If it ain't on the test, man, then we don't need to be teaching it. Or at least the majority of kids don't need it. Oh, she's not going to need it. She's going to go off and do some other vocation. And it's like, well, but isn't this why we have culturally irrelevant people who are highly manipulated by messaging that they're getting from weird places,
Right. This is why I see Subway ads with some ad for like CUNY, and there's a kid playing the saxophone and it doesn't have a mouthpiece on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Or it's upside down. I like that too. That's really good.
It's funny you should mention this topic. I'm just to do some shameless self-promotion.
Go ahead and do it.
I just released a single called Go Get a Real Job. And it's,
I love the image for this. And if, with your permission, I want to use it on the episode page. It's just great. Just talk about it. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yep. No, I'll send you the high res image. But yeah, it's a song that's part of my comedy show, and it's a complete play by play of the mentality that somebody has towards the working musician. And it hits on pretty much all of the tropes and stereotypes that we deal with in order to, to feel, I don't know, this lack of validity that we feel in our art form. And this is the mentality that you're talking about that has affected arts education and accessibility, because it's like, what is arts? What is it good for? Go get a real job, Yeah.
It's a great picture of Erica with like 7 instruments, and other paraphernalia. And I have to say, lots of Benjamins, right? Lots of $100 bills or, floating around in the miasma. And it's like, how many more things can I do?
Yeah,
Right? You get your hands sort of up in the air,
exactly. Like, is this enough? Is it ever enough? Am I enough? Anyway, big talk, big, topics, big feelings. I love what I do. I love doing the comedy. But sometimes my own songs make me really pissed off and really mad, because I'm just like, Argh! So anyway, but yeah, that's my latest single is Go Get a Real Job.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate we had a great conversation this evening, and I'm really glad to get your thoughts and ideas, your perspective on the topic within jazz and within this cultural phenomenon. But I think there's a lot here that resonates beyond just the genre of jazz and of music making.
Yeah, I think it does, and I think a lot of these topics run very, very deep. And it's a very interesting point in our lives right now to be having these conversations. And they might be hard to have, but I think there's much good that's going to come out of them. So if anyone listens to this and has a bone to pick with me or wants to continue the conversation, please reach out. I'm all ears.
Yeah, we're going to have all kinds of information on Erica and her work on the episode page for this episode, which will premiere in a little while in let's see, season 9, which will start this summer. Hard to believe, season 9 for my podcast. Once again, Erica von Kleist, it is a pleasure having you here on the show.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it.
SMG's Are We Here Yet podcast is a production of M the Media Project and SM Graves Associates. Learn more at smgravesassociates.com. In the Jazz Room, we had a fun interview with Grammy-nominated singer-composer Claudia Acuna at the Newport Jazz Festival. She talks about the inspirations for her songs. You'll hear cuts from her album Duo and Turning Pages. Learn more at www.claudiaacuna.com. And now, enjoy the show.
Hello, friend. This is Claudia Acuna, inviting you to join me in the Jazz Room with host Joanne Watson-Jones.
Hello, welcome to the Jazz Room. I'm your host, Joan Watson-Jones. Thanks for stopping by. Come in, relax while we enjoy great jazz. Each week we present the music of independent jazz artists, as well as those we've grown to love through the years. And yes, of course, the legends. Today we meet with singer-composer Claudia Acuna at the Newport Jazz Festival. We talked about her CD Duo and her Grammy-nominated CD Turning Pages. You're listening now to Eclipse de Luna, a duet with bassist Christian McBride.
Mirando la noche me puse a llorar. Pensaba que ya no me amabas, con honda desesperación, y algo que siempre eclipsaba, la luz de tu amor. Eclipse de luna en el cielo, ausencia de luz en el mar. Muy sola con mi desconsuelo, mirando la noche me puse a llorar. Eclipse de amor en tus labios, que ya no me quieren besar. Quisiera olvidar tus agravios y luego soñar. Eclipse de luna en el cielo, ausencia de luz en el mar, muy sola con mi desconsuelo, mirando la noche me puse a llorar. Eclipse de amor en tus labios que ya no me quieren besar. Quisiera olvidar tus agravios y luego soñar. Y luego soñar.
Welcome to the jazz room, Claudia.
Thank you, Joanne.
Claudia, now if I pronounce this right, Acuna?
Acuna in this part of the world, Acuna.
Acuna.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So,
In South America.
right, in South America, that's how they pronounce it.
Yes.
Because when Adriana introduced me to you, it was Claudia.
Yes.
She said Claudia.
Yes.
Right, okay. So
Not Claudia. She
not
said
Claudia. if you're from New York, you say Claudia, right?
Yes. And now I'm a New Yorker, so you can say Claudia.
Oh, all right. I loved your set. I loved your set. And I want to talk to you about when did you find your voice?
Woo, I think I'm just started. In a way, in many ways, I think I've always known my voice in a sense of who I am and the sound that I want to have. But to be honest, I feel like in the past couple of years, with this beautiful thing called aging and wisdom, which is beautiful because you become, or I should speak for myself, I've become more confident in myself. And I think that gives you a sense of freedom and confidence that I didn't have when I was much younger.
I get that.
I know you do.
I get that. Yes, no, I do understand. And now I listen to your songs, and this was the first time I've heard you perform.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a very warm spiritual element
Yes.
about, can you take me from there,
Mm-hmm.
where you like to take the audience?
I'd like to say, as I said in the show, my religion is music. And today is Sunday, and usually people go to church. And I feel that when we're in an environment like today, where the energy is so amazing and the music is like being at church, we are in service of a beautiful gift given by the universe or God. And I feel like as a singer also, I have the power of word, and words are powerful. And in this time and age, and always, I've been very spiritual, but I want to sing things that I know people can take to their home and their hearts. And it makes me feel better because I know I'm singing about things that matters to me, you know.
And it's a universal thing
Yes.
that you talk about.
Yes, absolutely.
Because the second song you sang,
Mhm.
tell me about that one. What was it called?
The second song is called That's What They Say. And it's a song that I wrote some years ago. And it's a conversation that I had with God. I was very mad of God. and this whole thing of people talking about God, and I saw many things are happening in the world, especially with children and basic things that people don't have, like water, like we don't take care of Mother Earth. It's the only mother we have in common, our planet, etc., etc. So it was kind of a conversation with God, and people said that, you know, people that follow religion said that his son is going to come back. And I keep sort of asking, that's what they say, that he's going to come back. So when? when is this going to change? You know?
Listen now to That's What They Say from Claudia's Grammy-nominated album, Turning Pages.
Sometimes I feel like I don't belong here. I ask to myself what it's gonna be. I see in the news the things that we do. Don't understand. I don't mean to question you, my Lord. I don't mean to worry you, my Lord. My God, our God, what is going on with my beautiful world? That's what they say, that you'll be back again. That's what they say, that you'll be back again. We all need the same, some water to drink, some food to eat, clear air to breathe, the sun who will make you see, and the moon who will let you dream. And if you lucky, a love that will let you fly away. That's what they say. That's what they say, that you'll be back again. That's what they say, that you'll be back again. Si me preguntan dónde voy al oír tu voz, voy en busca de un sueño, tierra en libertad donde pueda soñar, donde hayan pueblos sin fronteras, donde el hambre no exista, donde los niños crezcan en libertad. That's what they say, that you'll be back again. That's what they
And then you had one about your child?
Yes, I wrote that when I was pregnant. I only have one child. And as being pregnant and discovering all this new thing that nobody can tell you is a miracle that what the body of a woman does. And when you have a child, when you are making the decision to have a child, only a woman can make a decision on what she want to do with her body. And I wanted to have a child. And then I feel like in our children is the future of the world. And I want them to be rooted so they always have a place that they know they can call home and enough winds to go anywhere they want to.
Here's another cut from Turning Pages, titled Futuro. The song Claudia wrote while she was pregnant.
Cuando te veo que sale la luna y me voy a bailar, constelación entre cebollas, ajos, aromas y más, de cultivo de rosas, tú empiezas a llegar, hijo de luna, amor, vengan todos a bailar. Te quiero, ay, te espero, ay, te sueño, ay, te quiero. Bailaremos contigo al compás del universo, ver tu carita y volar de alegría, sentarme a soñar con los días que te veremos crecer al alba pura. Quiero caminar contigo el día, la noche y demás. Ay, te quiero. Ay, te espero. Ay, te sueño. Ay, te quiero. Ay, te quiero. Ay, te espero. Ay, te sueño, te quiero. Te quiero, te
Imagine a vibrant region that embraces innovative technology and systems allowing individuals and businesses to grow and thrive within the natural and cultural lifestyle of Vermont. Imagine the Black River Innovation Campus. Our community includes business and technology programming, co-working and technology tools, and other exciting experiences that are quickly creating an outsized impact to our little corner of northern New England here in Springfield, Vermont. PC Mag rates Springfield, Vermont number 8 for the best work-from-home cities in the U.S. Join us in Vermont. Begin your journey at bricvt.org.
And tell me about the song that you performed in tribute to Chick Corea.
I, like many musicians, you probably have heard this over and over and over, what Chick Corea meant and still mean for all of us as musicians. The inspiration for me as a South American woman to have discovered that Chick Corea was also have roots in the South American, he's part of South American. And then I met him many times and I have the privilege to talk to him, and he's always was so sweet and encouraged and nice to everybody, And then I did a duo album and my dream was to sing with him, but he passed away. And I felt like I want to do a tribute to him in this album, and I recorded a cappella and I make this version for a live show.
Okay, okay. Listen now to Crystal Silence from Claudia's CD Duo, dedicated to Chick Corea.
Oh, where did he go? The crystal silence cries. In my dreams, I see him still in the crystal silence of the night. Away from life now, all alone I can reflect. I let him sleep away from the game he might have played. If he stayed, if he has stayed, oh, I know those wondrous games that we would have played. As long as time exists, I shall recall the men I knew so well. One day I know in time our path will meet, and then we'll feel the joy we both have known, that I love and call my own.
How would you describe the experience of creating the Duo album? What was the concept of that album?
The concept is very simple, is a duo. Two people like you and I right now having a conversation. Not an orchestra, not a trio, not a quartet, just two people. And different instruments and different musicians that I admire. I have done duets all my life in music, but I've always wanted to do this album. And then the pandemic happened, and I felt like it was the right time to do it with musicians that live in the area and bring those musicians also to what I call the Latin American standards. And I have people like Kenny Barron, Christian McBride, Russell Malone, Regina Carter, and a few others that I'm forgetting. I'm excited.
I know. Yes. All right. So your duo album, and now that's your most recent?
Yes, that's my most recent.
Beautiful. So
Yeah.
I know where to, I'm trying to find out myself so everybody else will know. So when I send everything out and we put the show together, we can send them directly to your music.
Thank you so
listen
much.
to your music
Thank you so much.
with our interview. Now, what are you looking forward to coming up in the future, near?
In the
What
near
else do you
future,
want to do with life?
I want to keep singing. I want to keep bringing my music and my message. I want to keep growing and develop my compositions and collaborations. And I want to collaborate with more musicians and record more albums and go places and bring the music to the children and educate them and into what this world it is of music and how many possibilities bring you. You know, music
Yes.
brings a lot of possibilities to so many. I mean, I don't forget where I come from. And I'm a girl who was dreaming back in Chile, in the south of Chile, to do this music. And I moved to this country like many immigrants with nothing. I didn't speak the language. I was a dishwasher. And it's like, in a way, like the American dream. And today I'm nonetheless at Newport Jazz Festival doing my music. It's just amazing. I'm very grateful, and I look forward to everything that I will be doing in the near future.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds, let's keep going.
Yes,
Let's
we
keep moving.
got to keep moving.
And I know I have a friend who was a singer. She said, don't ever stop doing what you're doing. That's
She's
the
right.
trick. And
Yep.
she's very right.
Yep.
All right. So how can people find out about your music?
Well, people always can go to my website, www.claudiacuna.net, or they can follow me on my Instagram, which is at Claudia Acuna Música.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for spending time with us in the jazz room.
Thank
Claudia.
you for inviting me to the jazz room.
Okay. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Finally, here is Medianoche, a duet with pianist Kenny Barron.
Ven a beber conmigo en 12 copas, 12 campanas esta medianoche. Escucharás el bronce congelado tañendo nuestro adiós en 12 copas. Ven a besar conmigo en 12 copos. La nieve amarga que fundió el invierno sobre la altura de mis sienes y este desamparado corazón que tengo. Ven a morder conmigo en 12 gritos será la última boca que tú beses cuando vayas camino del ocaso. No bien bebas conmigo el sorbo amargo en la voz gris de los metales ciegos. Venderá esta medianoche repicando la eternidad de nuestros dos destierros.
We've come to the end of another show. Thank you for spending time here with us in the Jazz Room. You may see my photographs of artists at the Newport Jazz Festival and many more photographs on the Jazz Room page of my website, joanwatsonjones.com. Until next time, you've been in the Jazz Room. I'm your host, Joan Watson Jones.
Ven a morder conmigo en 12 gritos los labios de un dolor ya redoblado. Será la última boca que tú beses cuando vayas camino del ocaso. No bien bebas conmigo el sorbo amargo en la voz gris de los metales ciegos. Venderá esta medianoche repicando la eternidad de nuestros dos destierros. Ven a besar conmigo en 12 copos la nieve amarga que fundió el invierno sobre la altura de mis sienes y este.
The Jazz Room is distributed by M the Media Project and SM Graves Associates. Learn more at smgravesassociates.com.
Que